Welcome back. In this session we are going to go back to the text annotation structure, and we're going to see that we can add more complex annotations to the task, including structural annotations. So as a reminder, every time Node analyzes the text, it's going to add or remove annotations to the task. During the lexical analysis, typically Node will apply dictionaries and morphological grammars to add annotations to the task. These annotations usually represent atomic linguistic units, elements of the vocabulary. Now we're going to see that when we apply syntactic or even semantic grammars to a text, we can also add annotations, let's say structural annotations, but we can also remove annotations, for example, to remove lexical hypotheses in case we can disambiguate certain words. So let's say we have a sentence such as, "The man eats the apple." After a pure lexical analysis, a pure lookup of a dictionary and the corresponding morphology, we have the, which is a determiner, man, which is ambiguous, it's either a noun or the verb man, to man, infinitive, first person or second person singular, first person, second person plural, third person plural. Eat is also ambiguous. Eats could be a third person singular of the verb to eat, or eats like the plural noun, and then apple. Okay, so let's say now we are going to use a syntactic grammar which produces structural annotations. So this syntactic grammar will recognize NP, a noun phrase, followed by a verb group, followed by a noun phrase. So the noun phrase could be, for example, the man or the apple. And then the verb group will recognize eat. And you can see here that the syntactic grammar will also produce some annotations. So you can see here an annotation sentence that's opening here at the very start, at the very beginning of the sentence, and which will close at the end of the sentence here. And then another annotation will be produced by this syntactic grammar. NP subject will start before recognizing the subject and close after the subject. Same thing with the verb group, and same thing with the noun phrase, the object noun phrase, which will, the annotation will start before the beginning of the object and then close right after. So this syntactic grammar will recognize the man eats the apple and will annotate the whole sentence as a sentence, the man as a NP plus sub and a subject noun phrase, eats as a verb group, and then the apple as an object noun phrase. If we, if we look at inside the NP is here, it will also, this NP will recognize a determiner followed by an optional adjective followed by a noun. Now, when we apply this syntactic grammar to a text, if we click here on syntactic analysis, we are telling Node that the annotations that are going to be produced are not lexical annotations, they are structural annotations. So we have to check this option to make sure that Node understands that these annotations are structural. And then when we apply this grammar to the text, we can see the structure of the annotations by clicking here the option Outputs to make sure that the man eats the apple is not only recognized, but it produces this complicated structure. And this complicated structure, you can also display it in a tree, as a tree, using the option Concordance, Display Syntactic Analysis. And if you use the parse tree, if you check the option parse tree, it will display the parse tree of the sentence, and if you click structural tree, Nudge will display the structural tree of the sentence. So what is the difference between these two trees? The parse tree represents the structure of the grammar rather than the structure of the sentence. So it's very useful to debug a grammar because it shows how the grammar was explored during the parsing, how it was used. So for example here, the parse tree here shows that the grammar was recognized using the main graph and then inside the NP and then inside the determiner, and it's in this inside the det graph that the was recognized. It's inside the NP here that the man was recognized, etc. However, the structural tree represents the task, so it represents the annotations that were inserted in the task, and in particularly the structural annotations. And this is very useful because it represents the structure of the text and not from the grammar. And it's important because now, since the structure of the sentence can be independent from the structure of the grammar, you can organize the grammar as you wish without modifying the structure of the sentence. So for example, two different people could have different ways of organizing their grammars. They can share their grammars if they agree on what's important to represent as in the structure of the sentence. Also, remember when we discussed about the left recursion removal, right recursion removal, that Nudge might be optimizing the grammar, so it can modify the grammar, and this will have no consequence on the structural tree, because the structural tree is only representing the structure of the text and not of the grammar. So here is a structural tree, and as you see, these are annotations that were inside the grammar. NP plus sub, VG, and NP plus obj are structural annotations. A little problem that might arise is how do we proceed, how do we manage complex atomic linguistic units. So as a reminder, there are 4 types of atomic linguistic units: affixes, simple words, multi-word units, and discontinuous expressions. And they are all represented in the task. So how do these atomic linguistic units, how are they represented in the syntactic tree? So these are a few examples. So here, this is an example of a contraction. In French, O, A-U-X, is a contraction of 2 words, the preposition a and the determiner les, the plural determiner les. So if you type in les tambours bâtir au champ with this contraction, because the lexical analysis represented O as a sequence of 2 atomic linguistic units, it's not a problem for the syntactic tree to represent this word form, as 2 linguistic units in the tree. Now, what about discontinuous expressions? For example, if you have the text il ne baisse pas le ton, okay, il ne baisse pas le ton means he does not lower his voice. So in French, ne pas is a discontinuous expression that represents the negation. Ne pas is discontinuous because there is a verb here inserted. And there is also a frozen expression, baisser le ton. Baisser le ton means to lower his voice. So in the task, after the lexical analysis, you see that ne pas is represented as a discontinuous expression, ne pas, and then there is a bridge over baisse, over the verb, and then pas is the adverb. And baisser le ton is also represented as a discontinuous annotation, baisser, and then there is a bridge over pas, le ton. So when we apply the syntactic grammar to the text, what happens? Basically, it's no big deal. Nudge recognizes il ne baisse pas le ton, il ne baisse pas le ton, And then, since baisser le ton is one annotation and not three, it will represent it as only one annotation, or if you prefer, all the three constituents are linked. And the same with ne pas. Ne pas is represented as one single annotation, or if you prefer, the two constituents are linked. What about ambiguities? So let's say, for example, Luc recouvre la pomme de terre. Okay, so in French, pomme de terre is ambiguous because it could be apple of earth, or it could be pomme de terre, a potato, so a multi-word unit. So when we apply a syntactic analysis to the text, Nuge will recognize this sentence twice because it's ambiguous. So the first here, Luc recouvre la pomme de terre, has been recognized as Luc, subject, recouvre the verb, and then object la, and then pomme de terre as a linguistic unit, atomic linguistic unit. But then recouvre, recouvrir, covers, can have two complements, recouvre la pomme, the apple, with earth. So the second analysis is where pomme de terre has not been analyzed as a multi-word unit, but as three word forms, three atomic linguistic units. And this is, in this case, recouvre has two complements, la pomme, which is object complement, and de terre with earth. More simple ambiguities, syntactic ambiguities. For example, here, l'infirmier ferme la porte, which can mean either the nurse, l'infirmier, closes the door, ferme la porte, or l'infirmier ferme, the firm nurse, la porte, carries her. So this is not a problem. This the syntactic analysis will produce the two syntactic trees. Subject, l'infirmier ferme, with ferme is the adjective, a modifier of infirmier, and then the verb group is porte with the clitic, with the pronoun la, object pronoun. And then l'infirmier ferme la porte with the second analysis, which is l'infirmier is a subject, ferme is a verb, and la porte is an object. So all these syntactic annotations are represented in green in Nuge TAS. Remember that the black annotations corresponds to lexical units. Now green annotations corresponds to syntactic annotations. And we can use these, the result of the syntactic analysis, using concordance annotate text, which will add or remove annotations. And if we do that, we are going, Nuge will automatically remove all the lexical annotations that are no longer used for during the syntactic parsing. So basically, it disambiguates all the words. So remember that man could be a verb, no longer. Now, man is only a noun. 4 structural annotations were added, the green ones, and 4 lexical annotations were removed. So if we look before and after, before the syntactic analysis, this was a TAS, and after the syntactic analysis, here is a TAS. So you see man here has only one possibility, where here it could also be a verb, and the same for eat, which eats, which is now only analyzed as the verb to eat, third person singular. So congratulations. Now you see that the TAS can be used not only to store lexical annotations, but also to store structural annotations. And we also saw that by applying syntactic analysis, syntactic grammars to perform syntactic analysis, we can also remove ambiguities in the TAS, remove ambiguities of words thanks to the syntactic analysis.